everyone. Welcome to another edition of Founder Wisdom Podcast. Today we have Emre Koksal. He is Koksal, should I say. He is the founder of Datanchor, a company that's been operating in cybersecurity for the last 4 years. It's a pretty cool SaaS. So we're going to jump right in. Emre, tell us a bit more about yourself and Datanchor.
Thank you very much for having me, Charles. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you.
So about myself, I was born in Ankara, Turkey, and after spending 20 years of my life there, I moved to the US about 25 years ago, which gives a hint on my age as well, for grad school. I got my master's and PhD from MIT. It was in EECS, which is Electrical Engineering and Computer Science, one department there at MIT. I was involved in multiple aspects, and during my time there, I was a part of the team that built Sycamore Networks, which was wildly successful on optical switches, optical networks, one of those, internet boom, successful optical networking startups. I really loved doing stuff like that, the startup environment and so on. I wanted to do it myself, but the time I graduated wasn't the right time to build a company. I mean, it was right after the technology bust and even the labs were closing one after another.
Yeah.
So I decided to stay in academia. I spent around 18 months in Switzerland, in Lausanne, EPFL, or the English name Swiss Federal Institute of Technology. After that, I accepted a position at Ohio State University as a faculty member in electrical and computer engineering department. During my time at Ohio State University, I continually built technologies, licensed them out to mostly local startups, but also larger organizations. I have a wonderful family, 2 girls, 12 and 8. I enjoy sports. I'm a big fan of, I follow professional sports, even though I'm at Ohio State. I don't necessarily follow college football super closely. I'm a big fan of New England Patriots and Liverpool.
Tom Brady.
So that's about. You also asked about the company. I can keep going, but if you have anything specific about the first part, please stop me, Charles.
Well, first, I'm curious about Sycamore. How did they went bust? Because you worked there 1 year, and to also tell us at the same moment, about the dotcom bust. And I mean, there was a short boom, and then it went bust. So, tell us a bit more about that.
Sure. I mean, Sycamore Networks. I mean, for all for all business purposes, it was not a bust. I mean, it was one of the 22 optical networking companies that were built at the time. And after 2001, only 2 of them survived, and Sycamore Networks was one of them.
Okay.
So, the technology bust was, obviously the effect that the whole business ecosystem, as a whole. But, Sycamore Networks before that was a wild success in terms of the IPO, the level of IPO it's made, and the customers that it was onboarding. It managed to survive after the time and contributed before it ended its life maybe 5-6 years ago.
Then how is it to study at MIT? Because the greatest minds of our modern time study there. So how is it? Was it very competitive? What did you learn from your time there?
Oh yeah, it's a great question. So yeah, the people, they were great, right? The people were great, and the place was super inspiring. So I really loved the environment. One of the misconceptions about MIT is, obviously it's tough, right? There's this tough nature. If you wanna do something, you wanna do it all the way to the end. But one misconception is people think it's so competitive that people want to kill each other, which is absolutely the opposite that I have experienced. It was very people were friendly. even though we were all working very hard, like late at night, it was very friendly. The open discussions, you would, talk to people about what you do. It wasn't like competitive as it would be, for example, posed in a Hollywood movie, right? No, I mean, people were very friendly. So,
do you think that at Harvard and Yale is the same, or
what's that?
do you think that at Harvard or Yale or Stanford, do you think it's the same?
I think, yeah, I mean, from a quality of people perspective, I would say, yeah, it's roughly, I would say these places are all fantastic.
But
From
I mean,
a
from
culture
competition,
perspective,
Do you think people help each other at these other Ivy League schools, or do they like step on one another like you'd expect them to?
But based on my experience, I mean, so the way you describe it, like people step on each other, if that would be the predominant culture, then these places wouldn't exist, or they would exist, but they wouldn't be as successful as they are right now. So I don't think that, I mean, based on my culture, the culture that I'm coming from, it wasn't the case. And I don't think it would be the case in any successful institution, because again, by contradiction, if that were the case, then it would be that like, hey, people suffer, everybody's depressed all the time, and you can't be successful in such an environment. So and the other thing that I should say, maybe for as an advice, is the more you talk about what you do, the more people you share it with, and the more feedback you get, it's almost with probability 100% that you end up with a better piece of work.
Oh yeah.
So you should, I mean, if you want to build a successful institution, that's where you start. Like, I mean, not hostile, people willing to share what they do, and yeah, there's definitely competition, but not at a level that is hostile.
Toxic. Yeah, no,
toxic,
for sure. I mean, yeah, like you said, we watched the movie Social Network, and we see Zuckerberg and the Winklevoss twins. It's pretty toxic at this level. My experience in that part of the system, even in my native Montreal, Canada, I could see like competition, and people going their own way and tackling one another. I think competition is good, generally speaking. Mix of competition and cooperation, because when competition is like 80%, cooperation is 20, then you have a problem. It needs to be the other way around, 80% cooperation and 20 competition just to always raise the bar higher. And I often talk about these things. I think the system has taught us to compete against others, but I think the system should have taught us to compete against ourselves, and pretty much ignore others other than cooperating with them. You have a direct experience in the systems. You've been a professor for 15 years while you were founding your startup. First, I need to ask, did you have a conversation like with the university, telling them that, hey, I'm going to run these startups like in the same time that I'm going to be a professor there? Because you're not like an assistant professor, you're a professor. So you have your day job, or is it part-time? How does that work right now?
Yeah, great question. So yes, I mean, these things, especially lately, are in academic institutions encouraged and support. There are support systems for helping, spin-offs and professors that want to build companies, taking risks. Because that's also, I mean, if you're able to build a success story, that's also ultimately the best outcome for the university, right? Yeah. I mean, for a variety of reasons. Obviously, like ultimate examples are, say, Google, right? Google, a spin-off out of Stanford University, and not just financially, but from a reputation perspective, there's significant returns of having such a success story. So there's definitely support system. I have also enjoyed such support from the institution. Like in the form of special duties, like sabbaticals, and furthermore, the resources being in an academic environment, like a large successful research institution, helps in kind of recruiting talent, and just being around, like the new wave of stuff helps significantly in having the ecosystem, right? The correct ecosystem. So that's definitely more helpful than not. One interesting remark you made was you're not an assistant professor, you're a full professor. I wouldn't be able to do it if I were an assistant professor, because there's this thing called tenure track when you're an assistant professor. It is so stressful. I mean, probably it's not as stressful as building a company, but it's extremely demanding of your time, and you have to deliver significantly to be able to successful and establish yourself before you can promote to associate and full professor. So I have timed it so that I do such a thing myself. Obviously, first you need the backing with the technology, with the market need, and so on. But if they're there, I was kind of timing it so that I'm a little more experienced in academic system. Like take such an adventure.
Pretty cool. Yeah, because I said that because the schedule of the assistant professor is more flexible, but they have also like 2 or 3 times more work. The professor is like the superstar going like front end, and the assistant is like doing all the back end work. That's my understanding of it. That's quite interesting. And like next question, which is pretty much logical. What pushed you to found Datanchor in 2018?
So yeah, I mean, the funding of the company, 2018, early 2019, I would say. Building something that you see the immediate impact of. So that's something that's missing in like academic life. You build stuff, you generally have an impact on the way people think about things. But I also am inspired by seeing people using something that I built or help build. So the first order impact I really wanted to see, right? So that's one of the things. The second one is again, the type of research that I do, even though it starts with mathematics, it's on to the next level. I am from like a data science background, covers not just like data communication and machine learning, but it's also data security. So I want to see taken from like a conception foundation all the way to the use of the end user. And I can talk a little more later about this, but when I have the idea and I feel like it is going to touch the lives of end users, solves actual real problems, I want to take it to that, not just be prescriptive, hey, you should do these and implement it. I want to go ahead and do it myself and show and maybe talk to many people in the field to understand how it can actually touch people's lives. It may be the business, not necessarily the consumer, but touch something so that you solve a real problem. So that is what motivates me. I mean, I wouldn't be motivated by something that is unclear to make an impact. So it has to be clear, and I have to take that next step to see the impact. That is what pushed me to build the company. And again, obviously, you can't just build a company by, say, anything. It has to be, there has to be a legitimate business behind it, a legitimate market, and a clear plan toward execution of, moving it from an idea or initial prototype to something that the end users can simply integrate.
Sure. So, what is the legitimate need for this company? Because I deal with a bunch of cybersecurity SaaS nowadays. There's a bunch of them. I've experienced, it the hard way in the last 2 weeks. I mean, it's not been hard, but my website has been hacked, and I'm not the only one. I mean, there's a bunch of it happens to everyone. So there's that part of the need, but there's so many of these companies. What does Anchor do different, and what does Data Anchor do different than other cybersecurity companies out there?
Sure. So it is. I mean, so people don't buy security. Okay, people don't. I mean, security is. I would say. I don't want to call it second order. Security is a solution. Okay, security is an approach, is a solution. But the problem itself is not, oh, I need more security. The problem itself is originated from a business need. So what kind of business need? For example, when I talk to people, they told me, look, I mean, compliance, for example, they take defense industrial base. These are private organizations doing business with the government and the Department of Defense. They said, hey, there's a significant compliance requirement. There are 110, 130 domains that I need to meet. It is so expensive that the amount of money that I'm supposed to spend on this is roughly the same as the revenue that I'm going to make out of this. So should I even consider dropping all my contracts? So this is a business problem. It doesn't make sense just because you don't meet some data requirements on your data. You dropping the contracts, we think it doesn't make sense. Likewise, cyber insurance that's a business need. Cyber insurance is a business because you're taking risk with other people's data. It's a business need. So typical policies are becoming so expensive, they're elusive. I mean, let alone paying a lot for it. We have heard from our customers that they cannot even apply because they would be rejected. One of our customers got rejected 6-7 times before they could get it. So the problem is the business need. Compliance, collaboration. I can't collaborate because if I collaborate, by definition, I give out my data to others, and I don't want to do that because I lose control of it afterwards. So, and compliance. So those are the business problems. Those are the needs where we are coming from. Now, why security? So we, after studying all these use cases, all these problems that we have observed, we realized that the problem is very fundamental. The problem is, if you look at the information revolution, what we have achieved is we made it so simple to access, replicate, share all this, like data that we create, right? I mean, if I, email you a document, it not only to access it, but it becomes yours. You can, copy it anywhere, save it. So there's this uncontrolled flow of information. So the problem, we said, is flow of information. Okay, we cannot control the flow of information. Why? Because access equals ownership. So once I give ownership, I cannot control the flow. I lose full visibility of what's going on. So we said that, okay, take it one step deeper. Why? Why do we lose control? We lose control because historically we have been viewing this problem as perimeter-centric. We have been building castles on our network, thinking that, okay, that is good enough. But that's not good enough. Why? Because again, you don't solve the fundamental problem of losing control of your files. You're just putting one step toward accessing it, checking a few boxes. But once again, access is done, control is gone. So that's the problem. So what did we say? This has to be data center. Ultimately, that's what I want to control, my data. It has to be data centric. So the difference with Anchor is it takes the controls and security and it bakes it down to the data. Like in our case, files. So you bake your controls in the files, so the security travels with the files anywhere. And once you do it all the way down to the file, counterintuitively, it becomes simpler. It becomes simpler because, I mean, perhaps it's intuitive because you don't have to put all these hundreds of controls around your network. Once you have your file its own security boundary, then controlling it becomes simple, and you don't care who access where because the security travels with the data. So that's the differentiation of what we do. we make, we enable data to protect itself. As a result, the problem is simplified, and as a result, it is so much more affordable, so much simpler.
And how much should businesses pay for your software?
So here again, as you have at the beginning, SaaS-based platform, and we have the subscription-based model where our customers pay independently of how much data they protect. They pay $16 per user per month. So it's seat-based. So they pay like on a per seat basis. Obviously, this number varies depending on the size of the organization.
And how do you compete with, say, like LastPass? I mean, you're more like aimed towards businesses. LastPass is more towards consumers, as per my understanding. Like, do you consider them as a potential competitor?
Not really. I mean, you said like there's a significant change in philosophy, and like the end, business use cases. But we don't really. I mean, so we ultimately are a platform built to control the data, to secure the data, even when it's downloaded to the desktop. I mean, say you have a partner, they are working on some files, and you are going that he or she is going to part ways with the business. You still have the ability to revoke access to all the files, even though when it's downloaded to their endpoints. So we have the ability to revoke after the fact. We have the ability to monitor every single activity that is taken on the files, and we, have FIPS validated encryption. What I mean is like the encryption modules that are validated by the government, integrated to all files, made fully transparent to the end user. So we don't ask users to change anything in the sense that they can access it anywhere they want, anywhere they put, on the cloud, on the desktop. We don't even take their data out of the store to be able to protect it. So everything is in place in the native environment.
So, approx, how many users do you guys have right now?
I don't have the exact number. I would say in thousands, and in active users. Active users meaning users that are using us in their everyday operation. We have, the business is built in 2019. We spent roughly 2 years in making it so simple that you can easily integrate it into your business without any friction, and the use cases are so affordable and easy to access. So since 2021, we have onboarded our solution to somewhere between 30 to 40 customers, as well as many partners. We have a partner-centric model. We sell through reseller, MSP, and MSSP partners. So, and on top of that, we are a very complementary addition to existing technologies. What kind of technology? Can be cloud stores. They can be data discovery tools. They can be, backup solutions. We are like almost plug and play like ability to integrate and add value to the existing other technology platforms. So as a result, there are multiple dimensions that we are growing.
Have you guys got some funding?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So when we had the prototype and the idea, we got around 1.5 million in pre-seed funding from 4 or 5 institutional investors. And then currently I'm about to close our seed plus round. And there we have raised over $3 million. And we are, well on our way toward a Series A round sometime in 2023.
So lots of VCs are talking about like an upcoming recession. There's a lot of startups that are slacking a bunch of employees right now. What do you think about that, and how will you prevent Anchor from going under during that period, and like focus on making it thrive during this harder period.
Yeah, obviously, like there are these longer term cycles that we cannot control, right? But you cannot neglect their impact on the business. But having said that, we are fortunate in terms of the market need for I don't want to call general cybersecurity, but the business needs for what we are building.
Mm-hmm.
So again, there is potential recession, which is again at this point it's unclear, but there's also um, events that are happening all around the world, which is underlining the importance of cybersecurity, right?
Mm.
The whole Russia-Ukraine thing. I mean, even before that, the pandemic, exponentially expanded the number of attacks that an average business is seeing every day, and the attack surface has grown so much because of the work from home. Everybody taking their endpoints to home and working from there. So the need is expanding significantly. The need, regardless of whether there will be a recession or not, the need will continue to be there. It's not like people are going to loosen their requirements in terms of the risks that they're facing pertaining to compliance and data security, securing their data, or being able to control their data.
Yeah, for sure. I do agree with that. Hey, the interview is already over. That's been quite quick. Where can people find out more about you and about Data Anchor?
Sure. anchormydata.com. Anchor is the noun, and the verb also we are using explaining what we do. We anchor your data to your business so that you have full control of it, even when it's outside of your scope. So anchormydata.com is our website. Also, we are active on LinkedIn, where we share what's going on with our organization. So please find Anchor My Data or Data Anchor on LinkedIn. And one last thing, I have been doing these, what you call vlogs or small information pieces, 5 to 10 minutes of more or less quantitative but approachable, like simple quantitative pieces that's easily consumable, that I kind of dissect different problems around security, and I explain it to like an everyday user using some quantitative language. And please look for Anchor Together. That's called Anchor Together, and I broadcast it on LinkedIn almost every other week.
Nice. Connected with you on LinkedIn, Emre. We'll catch each other there, and I'll advise you when this will be online, okay?
Yes, sir. Looking forward. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Cheers.